But that lady, that new press secretary, she's
that video, dude.
She's a gangster. They're prepared. And you know why they're prepared? Because they're trying to play gotcha.
Yep.
So she played gotcha with them. She checkmated them.
She came in there with that Elon Musk flamethrower.
Play that video.
Watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
It finally happened. Karoline Leavitt, a rising political force and unapologetic defender of free speech, has just filed a massive $500 million defamation lawsuit against The View. This legal bombshell has liberal talk show hosts clutching their pearls like it's a fire drill at a Chardonnay tasting. That's right, $500 million. Because when you attack someone's character with a megaphone, don't be shocked when they respond with a megaton.
I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
I think she's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Say what you will about Karoline Leavitt, but one thing's clear, she's not backing down from the media machine. She's calling out a show that's shifted from meaningful dialogue to little more than synchronized outrage. And let's be honest, if you're going to catch heat just for being aligned with Trump or for having a backbone in politics, you might as well come armed with names and receipts. That's exactly what she's doing.
Absolutely not. Let me be unequivocally clear about that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC.
Enter Joe Rogan, the bald sage of the internet, cultural commentator, and black belt in common sense. He saw the media circus forming and didn't miss a beat. From his podcast Kingdom, where nuance still dares to exist, Rogan broke it down for what it really was. Yet another legacy media attempt to smear anyone brave enough to think outside their echo chamber.
But that lady, that new press secretary, she's
that video, dude.
She's a gangster. Have you seen that video?
You've never
Jamie?
seen someone more prepared for a question in your life, Jamie.
Have you seen that?
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about?
Small point on that, not the big point, but small point. She was so prepared for
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, she's supposed to be prepared.
That's why I
Jamie.
said you've never seen someone
You know
more
why?
prepared.
For that.
They're
for that
prepared.
specific.
While the ladies of The View clutched their mugs and tossed around labels like dangerous, with all the intellectual depth of a BuzzFeed quiz, Joe Rogan cut through the noise. He didn't need a panel, just a mic, a dose of sanity, and maybe a side of elk jerky. His take? Blunt and refreshing. The lawsuit wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a stand, a line in the sand, a clear message. No, you don't get to casually destroy reputations just because your ratings need drama.
If you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about.
It all started with a segment on The View where the show's resident sages Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg, Sunny Hostin, and whichever intern got promoted to guest host casually smeared Karoline Leavitt over her political affiliations and professional background. Not challenged, not debated, smeared. It was the kind of casual defamation dressed up as coffee table commentary served with a side of cackling and a live studio audience. And somehow that still gets a free pass. Joy Behar, never one to miss. A chance to confuse volume with truth, labeled Karoline dangerous. Dangerous for what? Having a coherent worldview and the guts to express it. If strong principles now qualify as a threat, then the bar for dangerous has officially been lowered to anyone who's read the Constitution. As for Whoopi, she responded with her signature blend of smug detachment and vague spiritual wisdom. That always sounds like it was scribbled in a Whole Foods parking lot. She's a master of saying everything and nothing all at once. Meanwhile, Sunny Hostin dusted off her law degree just long enough to misapply it like a BuzzFeed intern Googling. Libel laws for beginners.
So Joy Behar went after Joe Rogan on The View, and he fired back spectacularly.
You're worried about losing your job, and you're worried about podcasts taking over, and who's the source of news, and we said Donald Trump was Hitler, but half the country disagreed with us, and he won, and this is and Joe Rogan believes in drag.
That's when Karoline said enough. She didn't whine, she didn't backpedal, she filed, she stood her ground. And Joe Rogan, he saw it for the cultural moment it truly is, someone finally standing up to media elites who mistake their platform for a moral compass. He saw The View for exactly what it is, a bachelorette party of bad opinions and worse facts. This is the show where logic gets waterboarded by half-read Twitter threads. Watching The View try to unpack politics is like watching toddlers attempt to solve Middle East peace with crayons and juice boxes.
They're prepared. And you know why they're prepared? Because they're trying to play gotcha.
Yep.
So she played gotcha with them. She checkmated them.
She came in there with that fucking Elon Musk flamethrower.
Play that video.
Meanwhile, while Karoline's legal team was probably formatting lawsuits in Comic Sans, Joe Rogan was howling with laughter, likely knocking over a kettlebell or two. He framed the entire circus as performance art Shakespeare in the courtroom, with less talent and more hashtags. He openly praised Karoline for pushing back against The View's hate parade. Sure, she's built a career dunking on the woke mob, but this wasn't hypocrisy. This was strategy. If The View can dish it out, they should learn to take it.
If you ask people, even in the legacy media, even the Trump haters, they will tell you the approach has been much different. Not just from me, but the entire White House. Oh, absolutely. They come in my office every day and they'll admit that off the record. Maybe not on the record, but they will say they appreciate the access and the transparency and the preparation that goes into my briefings, and everybody on our team, by the way, who goes out.
Rogan stood up and said it out loud. Good on her. And then naturally, he went full scorched earth on The View, because of course he did. According to Rogan, this show is what happens when daytime TV collides with a menopause convention and nobody brings facts. He skewered their entire shtick. Yell loud enough, cry victim, then pretend they're brave for surviving their own echo chamber. They're like if Mean Girls grew up, got talk shows, and forgot to evolve.
Very strange show, but it's fun to watch. It's just fun to watch them.
It's good entertainment.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly.
Well, they're just, you know, it's interesting because I think Sunny's very intelligent, but she's ideologically captured.
Right.
You know, it's, I think the other ones, there's a couple of the other ones, don't have to name any names, who are just very dull-minded. But I think Sunny's not one of them. I think she's smart.
To anyone in a red hat passing by, The View has declared war on anyone not sipping from their progressive brunch mimosa. If Joy Behar doesn't agree with you, you're either evil, brainwashed, or due for cancellation by the next ad break. Their idea of political discourse? Crying into a scented candle while demanding federal charges. But Rogan, he's the anti-View. He's the guy who invites Bernie Sanders and Alex Jones to the same barbecue, then calmly eats elk jerky while everyone else argues about reality. He's the adult in the room even if he's wearing camo and talking about space apes. So when he saw Karoline suing The View, he didn't flinch. He laughed and then clapped because deep down, he knew it was time someone put those ladies in check. Let's not pretend The View is PBS. This isn't journalism, it's Judge Judy with hot flashes. It's political improv night with zero script and even less logic. And the minute someone with a different opinion shows up, oh, it's an exorcism. Karoline went on The View knowing she'd be ambushed with condescension and snark disguised as questions. So she flipped the script, turning their gotcha moment into a courtroom drama. Suing them wasn't a meltdown, it was a move. A very profitable move.
People want us divided, and they aren't just here in this country. They're foreign adversaries who are infiltrating our social media because it is prudent for us to stay that way. So when you see something that really pisses you off, you should triple check that one.
Yeah. But I think that's why people like our show, because they know that we are checked by ABC News. But
we're checked by everybody.
Yeah, I mean, if we're wrong, we have, you know, the legal note here.
The human legal.
But we went from Walter Cronkite, basically, to this guy, Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. I checked it. He believes in dragons? He believes in dragons.
Did you triple source that?
Yeah.
Joe Rogan got it. The lawsuit wasn't about setting a legal precedent, it was about making a statement. Presence, visibility, dominating the headlines like it's a cage match. And Karoline Leavitt just walked in wearing brass knuckles made of subpoenas. Rogan didn't just understand the move, he respected it, because he's watched The View pull the same stunt for years. They throw verbal haymakers from behind a velvet rope of opinion, then duck for cover the moment anyone swings back with something. Stronger than a tweet. They scream misogyny if you criticize them, censorship if you don't clap, and bravery if one of them manages to quote a Wikipedia page without blinking. But when Karoline clapped back, not with sass, not with a tweet, but with a lawyer, The View was collectively reaching for smelling salts, like Southern Bells at a truth convention. You'd think Karoline had marched into the studio wielding the Constitution like a sword. Rogan didn't just laugh, he endorsed the chaos, because in his eyes, if The View can spend every morning treating dissent like a personal insult and turning minor disagreements into DEFCON 1 drama, they don't get to whimper when that drama circles back like a boomerang of karma.
Well, it is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching and hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean, it is a rabies infested hen house.
The View is a panel show that still can't decide whether it wants to be morning television or a group therapy session for failed influencers. Half the time, it feels like a wellness retreat gone horribly wrong, complete with passive-aggressive affirmations and hot flashes of rage. And Joe's just sitting there, sipping mushroom tea, watching the hysteria unfold like it's the Super Bowl of self-inflicted PR disasters. Karoline may not win the lawsuit, but she's already winning the narrative. Rogan knows it. She's positioning herself as the woman who took a shot at the Hydra of hysteria and lived to tell the tale. Meanwhile, The View is floundering, sounding like a high school drama club auditioning for CNN. Joe's not mad about the lawsuit, he's mad it didn't happen sooner, because the more these hosts play the victim every time they're challenged, the more ridiculous they look. And Rogan, the master of monetizing ridiculous, is right there with a front row seat and a Spotify contract. This isn't a political conflict anymore, it's a content war, and Joe's the only one who knows he's winning.
He's winning my side.
Yes.
And that's their audience.
Yes. Well, their audience is not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen audiences before for TV shows, but a lot of them are paid. They're paid to be there. So, because they have to guarantee that there's going to be people there. So there's services that you hire. And when a show gets really, really popular, you know, like Letterman or something like that, obviously it has its own fan base.
Right.
And those people will try to get tickets before anybody else does. And in that case, they probably don't need to use a service anymore. They just get actual fans. But arguably, like, the fans, the real fans of The View that are like, oh, these ladies are on point. Most of those people can't leave the house. Like, they're probably immobile.
Right.
Let's call this what it is. Reality TV with subpoenas and a side of ego flambe. No one here is chasing the truth. They're chasing clout like it's on clearance at Target. They're not defending principles, they're defending screen time, Twitter engagement, and their last ounce of cultural relevance. Karoline isn't just fighting back, she's flipping the whole damn table. Real Housewives style. And Joe Rogan's right there, passing her the lighter, the gasoline, and a protein shake. Because in today's America, why engage in civil discourse when you can just file a lawsuit in Comic Sans? Why settle a debate when you can rebrand yourself as the wounded phoenix of justice, rising from the ashes of sarcasm? Karoline gets the clicks, the fundraising emails, and another Fox News interview. The View gets the backlash, the rage clicks, and Joy Behar's 19th meltdown of the week. And Rogan? He gets more downloads, more eyeballs, and another excuse to rant for 3 hours about how society's completely lost the plot while somehow tying it back to elk meat, DMT, and the fall of Rome.
Whoopi Goldberg's, like, did you see what she did to that Staten Island bakery?
Yeah.
No.
Crazy.
What?
So Staten Island Bakery, their boiler went down, and she placed an order of cupcakes for her birthday. And they couldn't
hold
do the order.
on. I can't imagine yet how this would go bad. Okay, go ahead.
So she places this order. They say, we can't promise you that we can do this because our boiler is down. So we can't fulfill this order. And so then the next day, the boiler is back up. She has someone else call the same bakery, and they get the order in because now the boiler's up. She claims the reason why they didn't take her order is because they didn't like her politics. And so she says this on The View. So then the bakery has a press conference where they say, we've been in business for 150 years. This is not what happened at all. We don't discriminate against anybody regardless of anything. We just had a problem with our boiler, and she's singling out a family-run business, and then there's a line around the block for the bakery.
It's not democracy, it's daytime court cosplay, and Joe's just the jester who sees through the farce. The View preaches inclusion, but excludes any idea that makes them feel emotionally unsafe. Karoline calls them out, and suddenly she's public enemy number one. But Rogan, he's the only one laughing while the rest pretend this is civil discourse. So we get to watch as Karoline launches subpoenas like confetti, The View drowns in its own indignation, and Joe Rogan turns it all into high-octane podcast fuel. It's a three-ring circus of ideological chaos, and Rogan just sold out the popcorn. Stand. The real winner here isn't Karoline, or even the lawyers. It's the bald guy with a mic, a laugh, and no filter spinning this cultural circus into streaming gold. Because if we've learned anything from this elk-scented melodrama, it's this. Everyone's offended, everyone's suing.